The conversation was quite constructive, and I once again understood that President Biden is an experienced statesman. Our one-on-one conversation took almost 2 hours. It's not every world leader that gets this amount of attention. I mean, his predecessor was asked the same question. He evaded this. This president decided to respond to the question directly. And in this, he is very different from President Trump. But look at it this way. Anything that happens in our countries is something that political leadership is responsible for, and the presidents included. Who stands accused of what? Who's the killer? But look at it this way. Look at the American streets. People are getting killed there, including those who are leading the various political organizations. You can get a bullet in the back of your neck. A woman just ran away from the police and they shot her in the back. But take Afghanistan. One single strike can kill to the tune of 120 people. All right, assuming this was a mistake, it happens on a war. But shooting from a drone at an unarmed crowd, clearly the civilian crowd, what is this about? How would you call that? And who's responsible for this? And how would you call this person who is the killer now? Or going back to the human rights record. The Guantanamo prison is still operating. It doesn't even start to resemble what is stipulated in the international law or in the U.S. legislation, and yet it exists. Secret CIA prisons across the globe, including those in the European countries, where people were tortured. Well, is this the great human rights record? Oh, I doubt that. Would anyone here agree that this is how you protect the human rights? But these are facts on the ground. And this is the reality of the politics today. And we understand that this is how it's been done. And on the basis of that, we respond. So when people get funding from abroad to stand for the hidden agenda of those who are paying them, who pays the piper. America has just recently went through a, grievous chain of events after a certain African-American individual was killed, and an entire movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, appeared. I'm not going to go into details. I will spare you them. But we've seen pogroms. We've seen, looting and violations and riots. We sympathize with the Americans, but we do not want for the same thing to happen on the Russian soil, and we'll do anything possible to prevent this. And it's not about me fearing anything. If you want to think that, can you please give the mic?
You didn't answer my question, sir. If all of your political opponents are dead, in prison, poisoned, doesn't that send a message that you do not want a fair political fight?
All right, about my opponents being jailed or imprisoned. People went into U.S. Congress with political demands. 400 people are now facing criminal charges. They are facing prison terms of up to 20 or maybe 25 years. They are called homegrown terrorists. They are being accused of many other things. 70 people were arrested right there on the spot. 30 of them are still arrested. On what grounds? Not quite clear. I mean, none of the official authorities from the states are informing us about it, so we don't know that. One of the participants, a woman, was shot dead on the spot. She was not threatening with, anything. Why am I bringing this up? Many people are facing the same things as we do, and I am stressing this. We are sympathizing with the United States, but we do not want the same thing repeating here.
With regard to our non-systemic opposition, and a citizen that you have mentioned, first, this person knew full well that he violates the law that exists in Russia, and he had to understand that he is a person that is a repeated offender. He deliberately violated this law. He went abroad to receive medical treatment, and once he went out of hospital and posted his videos online, a requirement appeared, but he ignored the requirement of the law, and he knew full well that he is wanted. Nevertheless, he came back to Russia, and he deliberately wanted to be arrested. So he did what he wanted to do. What can we say here? With regard to persons like himself and the systemic opposition at large, unfortunately, the format of the press conference does not allow us to have a detailed conversation of that. But let me say the following. I believe that it's pretty simple and it would be clear to everyone. And if you could just have an unbiased coverage of this, I would appreciate it. So the United States declared Russia as its enemy and adversary, and the Congress made it back in 2017. The U.S. legislation have provisions that the United States should support the order and rule of democratic order in our country and support democratic organizations. And it is all contained in your legislation. So let us ask a question. If Russia is an enemy, then what kind of organizations would be supported by the United States and Russia? I believe these are not organizations that make Russia stronger, but those who deter Russia. And that is the goal of the United States that they made public. So these are organizations and people that help implement the U.S. policy on the Russian track. So what should be our take on this? I believe that clearly we should be cautious about it, but we would be guided and we would act within the Russian law. As for cybersecurity, we agreed that we would begin consultations in this respect. I believe it is extremely important. As for responsibilities and who should take them, let me brief you on matters that are common knowledge, but probably not everybody is aware of that. U.S. sources, I don't want to make a mistake here as to the name of this organization, but the U.S. sources claim that the majority of cyber attacks are made from the U.S. territory. Then the second one is Canada, then two Latin American states, and then the U.K. As for Russia, it is not listed in this ranking of countries that see the significant number of cyber attacks from their territory. That's one thing. Secondly, throughout 2020, we have received 10 requests regarding cyber attacks. Attacks on the U.S. infrastructure. As our colleagues put it, these cyber attacks were launched from the Russian territory. And we received 2 such requests this year, and on all these requests, our colleagues received exhaustive answers. On its turn, Russia sent last year 45 such requests to the relevant agencies of the United States, and this year we sent 35 requests, and no response has been provided so far. That says that we have a lot to work on, and as for the scale of responsibilities and who should take them, it should be decided within negotiations. We agreed that we would start such consultations, and we believe that the cybersecurity area is extremely important in the world at large, for the United States in particular, as well as for the Russian Federation to the same extent. For instance, we know about cyber attacks against a pipeline organization in the United States, and we know that this company had to pay a ransom of $5 million USD. According to my information, they were returned some part of this money from electronic wallets, but some part of this money is still missing. But what do Russian authorities have to do this? We face the similar threats when it comes to one of the key Russian regions and its healthcare system. And we see where these cyber attacks are launched from. We see that these attacks are coordinated from the United States territory. I don't think that the United States authorities are interested in such kind of manipulations. We need to get rid of all kinds of insinuations and innuendo, and we should launch the expert work for the benefit of the United States and the Russian Federation. We have reached an agreement in principle of that, and Russia is ready to do that. Lev Tolstoy once said, there's no happiness in life, there's just a glimpse of happiness, and do cherish it. I believe that here there can be no confidence and ultimate confidence, but I see that we've seen some glimpse of this confidence.